Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Scratch the Vinyl. I'm Cain Stevens. I'm one of your hosts. And then I have the infamous Mr. Chill himself, the Godzilla karaoke, I don't know, I could make up so many different, the North Side Bomber, but that doesn't sound very good, does it? But Randy Wilson, Mr. Chill, I've got on here. I've also got the red lip lady herself. She's not a witch. She does have pale skin. She's a beautiful soul, and we are so glad to have her on. We have Brooke Johnson, and we're going to have a guest coming on here very soon. So we're going to get into it in a moment, but I have to tell you guys something. So recently, and this is a tie-in to kind of what we're going to be talking about, and our guest who's in a punk rock musical about Lizzie Borden. But I'm so pumped once I heard about this that I got to share this story. So I was in Malvern Manor with my, which is in Malvern, Iowa. It's a very haunted location here in the Midwest in Iowa, and we had a lot of things happening. But I decided to, I don't know, I just my scratch the vinyl senses were telling me that something's going to calm me down if I get scared. Well, there was a point where I was there for a good, I don't know, maybe 3 hours by myself in this manor. And there's a lot of stuff happening. There was shrieking, there was thumping, all sorts of stuff going on. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to calm down and I'm going to play something. So I thought, what better to play than the Zombies Time of the Season. So I blast it on my phone and I walk around and I tell the ghosts in this place that I'm going to play you guys a song. I hope you guys like it. And I'm going to be honest with you. The song calmed me down. I didn't feel scared anymore. And it was kind of sobering to me because I was so heightened and scared at this point, which is wild because I investigate haunted locations all the time. But this place had me on edge. So let's talk about the lyrics to Time of the Season. I can't think of a better time of this season, spooky season. So Time of the Season by the Zombies. So the lyrics to it is, it's a time of the season when love runs high, and this time give it to me easy and let me try with pleasured hands. What one at a time. I'll ask Brooke first. What do you think that means? What does it mean to you when you hear something like that?
My God, okay, in the time of the season when love runs high, and this time give it to me easy and well, I'm going to take it a little, Brooke way, I guess. I don't know. It sounds like I want to go snuggle up somewhere and be pleasured with some hands.
By some zombies, right?
Get handsies with the ghosts. I mean, I've heard of that actually. Like people like, oh yeah, I made out with my ghost. Somebody actually married a ghost. Did you ever hear about that? Maybe that's what it's about: marrying zombies and ghosts. Yeah, I'm down.
I think that's my third ex-wife as a ghost. And they just had it with my crap and just ditched me right off the bat. I don't know. What do you, Randy, when you listen to something like the Zombies? I mean, this is kind of an iconic song that has been in like so many movies, but for some reason it's in like older spooky movies too, like as kind of like a passerby song. What do you think of it when you hear this song?
Well, of course, I always thought it was just a love song, but you are correct. Because the song kind of has a different feel to it. And I don't know, I've always really enjoyed it. I don't think I've ever thought it was spooky, but for our listeners that don't know, Cain is an avid haunted house guy.
Yes, Cain. Okay, now that this song now that you say it is so different, I look at it differently now because I was like, who's your daddy? Mm-hmm. That's Bob. Now I'm like, who's your daddy? Is he dead? Is he okay? This is totally mind blowing right now.
Well, that's the beauty of music, right? It's all about interpretation, which is why I bring it up. I've seen this in different. I don't have a lot of examples, but I just know I'm an avid movie watcher, and this movie comes up in so many movies, especially when it's like a timepiece. And I don't know, maybe it just has a vibe to it. But it's all about interpretation. Now that we're talking about spooky season, we're talking about it kind of takes on a whole different meaning. Yes, it is kind of a love song in a way, but maybe it's not, right? That's the beauty of lyrics.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of songs out there. Like we always talk about that. You just take it different. Like a lot of people that we've interviewed that create and write their own music, like you do that, Cain. it means something to you, but it means something completely different to someone else. Because I mean, and sometimes I get the lyrics wrong, so I'm thinking it's saying something else, and it's actually a completely different word. And so I, depending, like if I go to Randy's show and actually get to read it, then I understand it a little more. But yeah, I like the lyrics though on that. It could go either way.
It could go either way.
I think they could be talking about candy, trick or treating.
Trick or treating, that's the best part of the season.
Gentle hands, time of the season for love. They love of candy, I think.
Well, if I write a horror movie, this is the first song I'm putting in there, and it actually is a great correlation to that. And I think that this is a good segue into our guest, because we are spooky month is upon us. This is my favorite time of the year, where some of us are spooky all the time. For the rest of you guys out there, you guys get 1 month, or you can let your freak flag fly. So this guest here is currently in a punk rock musical. It's a Lizzie Borden musical. I don't want to regurgitate a bunch of history to you, but there was a grisly murder, right? And a massive trial and all these things that happened. And you can actually go to the Lizzie Borden house right now and do paranormal investigations, because apparently there's a lot of activity there. So let's bring on our guest right now. Let's talk about the musical and so much more. Let's bring on Michelle Colette Ingle, everybody. Give her a round of applause.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Did I butcher your name, or was I at least somewhere in the vicinity?
You did great. Nailed it.
Perfect. So, Michelle, welcome to Scratch the Vinyl. We've been kind of chomping at the bit to get you on the show. This is not your claim to fame, but I know that you are Randy's roommates. Are you a girlfriend, fiance? What should I call you?
Girlfriend.
Girlfriend. Perfect.
Yeah.
And that is not your claim to fame, because there's so much more to you. You're not just
right. That's just how Randy and I met.
Right. You have been doing You've done Broadway. You came up in theater. You came up in Lincoln. So let's start first with your roots here in Lincoln, because that's what we like to talk to Lincolnites about, Lincolnites who are doing big things, and you are doing massive things. Let's start with how long have you lived in Lincoln? Where did you go to high school? All that good stuff.
Sure. Was born and raised in Nebraska, grew up in Lincoln, did a lot of things growing up as a kid. But when I got into high school, I went to Lincoln Southwest. They have a pretty amazing theater program at that high school. And I kind of fell into it by accident. I had tried out for the cheerleading team and didn't make it, and decided that I needed another way to meet people because I was transferring districts. And so I auditioned for the school's theater program and very quickly fell in love with it. It became something I was really passionate about, and I worked really hard at it. When I graduated from Lincoln Southwest, I decided that I didn't want that to end. I really felt like I had found my passion, and so I decided to major in it. I went to the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, and they have a school for theater there, the Johnny Carson School of Theater and Film. I auditioned and got my BA in theater performance from UNL, and started working professionally while I was a student. There were a number of projects that presented themselves at the Lead Center, and that's kind of where I got started.
She is a very talented singer, and I have been fortunate enough to go see several of her plays. And she is a very talented actress as well.
That adds a certain element to it. I mean, as a performer, I mean, there's more like us band guys. A lot of us probably aren't very good actors, right? But we're kind of actors when we get on stage. All of us who crave the stage and get up there kind of have that for us. But for you, it adds a certain element. You're dancing, you're singing, you're doing all these different things. You're kind of like the ultimate performer, honestly.
And that has to be so hard. I've tried it before. I could barely dance and sing happy birthday, like memorizing lines and then your moves and acting, and like the memorizing lines thing is for me. Cause like even like the phonetics of you have to really pronunciate everything and know what you're singing. And like when you're up on a rocks, like, rocking out on stage, you can kind of like, if the words bandana, if you said banana, nobody'd really, know the difference. But man, I mean, that's a lot of work. I mean, how much work do you put into that? Like, especially the one that you have with the punk band right now.
I think that as far as my craft goes, I'm working on it constantly. If I'm not at work or something, I'm usually either getting ready to audition for another project, which is a performance of its own. Auditioning can be really challenging. It's probably the most challenging part is because you have to be able to demonstrate to people very quickly that you're competent enough to get up on stage and to handle being in a show. And particularly if you want to be the lead in it, you have to be able to be really confident on a moment's notice. And then when you are in actually the show, then you spend most of your evenings, at least in Lincoln, most of the projects, they rehearse in the evenings. So I'll spend hours working with other people on putting a show together. And Lizzie has been quite challenging. I love a rock musical for sure, but this one's probably the most vocally challenging I've ever been in. It's got a really loud sound to it most of the time. Our band is amazing. I'm having a good time figuring that out, but it's definitely a little bit out of my comfort zone just because I'm on stage almost the entire time. There is no escape. So once I step on stage for this particular show, I don't really get to leave until the end. So, or until intermission. I get a small break in the middle, but
amazing. I've always wanted to do that. Like I said, but my memorizing lines, I tried out for something once and didn't quite work out too good. I don't even think I could have been the light person. I want to know, okay, so with the Lizzie, where's this at? Can we, like, when can we go see you?
yes. So Lizzie is currently running at the Shelter Belt Theater in Omaha. The Shelter Belt is a pretty prominent theater in Omaha. They closed down for a couple of years just to find a new space. And this is kind of one of their grand opening performances within their new space. It's at a building called the Omar on Nicholas Street. The Shelter Belt Theater is a pretty lovely new space, and I'm enjoying working with them. If you want to get tickets to see Lizzie, you can go to their website, www.shelterbelt.org. They have tickets. Tickets are $35, but they also have a program called Pay What You Can. So if $35 is not within your range at the moment for a theater show, then you can just donate what you can to the theater and they'll gift you tickets as well. So that's been a pretty nice program. I appreciate them doing that for people.
That is really cool. I love that they do that because sometimes you can't really afford it, but you want to go watch, you know?
Right. We run every weekend until Halloween, and then our final show is on Halloween.
Halloween, speaking of that, I mean, that's like a perfect thing to go see is Lizzie during the Halloween. Oh, that I think I'm going to do that actually.
Yes, please come see us.
I know it sounds like an epic show. Like this is if I'm going to go to, and trust me, I do like some Broadway and everything, but I'm more of a rock guy. If I were going to go to something, this is letting all my meters go off right now. So maybe I should go too.
Yes, please come. It's a great time. I really enjoy getting to play Lizzie Borden herself, just because it's a really interesting challenge to kind of like live in that mindset and like try to validate her choices. I do have to warn anyone who wants to come see the show there. We just have a disclaimer that we do have some implied abuse storylines within the show. There's also flashing lights if you come see the show. Obviously, if you're familiar with the Lizzie Borden case, there are kind of implied storylines regarding patricide within the show as well. But I still think the show is really interesting and a great adventure for Halloween. So I do recommend people come enjoy the punk rock world of Lizzie Borden.
Why don't you fill in our listeners a little bit, how you kind of got started with some of your big projects, and then we'll lead into where you're going to go.
Sure. So when I graduated from the university, I mentioned that I had started doing a couple of professional projects at the Lead Center here in town. And I decided when I got out of school that I wanted to see what else was out there. And so I started applying nationally to theater programs I could find that were hiring or auditioning for different shows. And so after I graduated, I started traveling the country, working at different theater houses. I did a number of shows in Virginia. I had a really good time doing the musical Little Shop of Horrors out in Colorado Springs. That's another Halloween musical. I must like the spookier stories, apparently. And then did a couple shows out in Massachusetts as well. Had a really good time doing those, but had to put a stop on it for a little while because COVID had hit. And so I decided to come home to Lincoln and try and regroup. Theaters were shut down during COVID, and it was really difficult to figure out how to even put on a production at that time. So there was kind of a waiting game for a moment. But as we have slowly moved out of COVID and back into a sense of normalcy, theaters have started to reopen, new theaters have opened, and I've started working for theaters again. While I took that break, I decided I wanted to kind of delve into directing and what that would be like. I wanted to know what went in behind the scenes of putting on a show so that I could better understand the people I was working with. And so I had a great time with that. I just finished directing Anastasia at the Lincoln Community Playhouse, and that was a really rewarding experience. And then I've had a couple of really close call auditions for some Broadway affiliated projects, never Broadway actually, although that's the dream. But I've received a couple of callbacks for a few Broadway national tours. And then probably like my thing I'm the most proud of is that I received a callback a few years back. NBC was producing Hairspray Live on NBC, and I had received a callback for that. So they called me on a Friday here while I was in Lincoln. I was spending the day with my mom. They called and said, "Can you be in New York on Monday?" And so I flew to New York to do a callback for them, and I must have done okay because I got a call back to come back the next day. I think that there were maybe like 15 girls left for the lead in that project, and I had a pretty surreal experience of standing in front of a table of creatives from NBC as they tried to figure out if I was the right person or not. Ultimately, I did not get picked for that project, but it was probably one of the coolest experiences I've had thus far in my theater career. But yeah, those are a couple of the things that I've done since then.
Well, wow, I can only imagine, what it's like to go through this long process of, trying to achieve your goals when it comes to really acting, directing, and performing. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of talented people out there, but even just to be in that small percentage left, that had to be an awesome feeling.
Yeah, I think that a large part of getting used to doing theater for a living and trying to pursue it is a lot of it's just a big old numbers game. I know that I have a certain amount of skill and I know that I'm able to perform roles well, but if I can't get into the right room with the right people, or if I just can't get a slot to be seen at an audition, then that affects what projects I could or could not be in. And so I think that it's just been getting used to like, okay, well, it wasn't in the cards today, or it was in the cards today. I flew up to New York about 2 years ago for a national tour audition I thought I was really, really right for. I got to the audition building at 6 a.m. and there was already a line around the block in New York of people who were also auditioning for that project. And they had gotten there at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. We all waited in line outside until the building opened at 10. And we got brought into the building only to be told that there had been 300 people in line before us, and there was no way we would be seen. We could go home. I had flown to New York just to be seen. And so that was a huge bummer. I had a friend in line who was extremely kind. She knew I wanted to be seen for that project really bad. And she had shown up at 4 a.m. for the audition, and she ended up giving me her spot in line. And so I took that and waited until her number was called. And even then, they cut off before they got to her number. So I ended up saving her some time. She went out to audition for something else while I sat in her place in line. But I was number like 402 or something, and just didn't get seen that day. So I ended up going back. They had a dance call. That's not my like main talent, dancing, but it's something I can do if I have to. I ended up going back the next day. I went to the building at 3 a.m. to make sure that I got seen at the dance call the next day. And when I went in for the dance call, it's like they weren't even looking anymore. Like they weren't even watching us. So I don't know. The numbers game is really difficult when it comes to this job.
This sounds like a lot of work to do what you do. Like for me in a band, I show up with my instrument. I plug my mic in and I show them what I got and it's over with. For you, it's so much more. But I got to ask you, is it a hard road being an actor and being typecasted and judged in real time as you're there, as you're kind of like, they're sitting out in the audience watching you? Is it a hard road for you?
I am really grateful that I get to do what I do. I am also aware that the world is the way that it is. And sometimes it is really frustrating. I go in for certain parts and there are some people who are capable of looking at me and thinking, oh, she can play anything she wants to play. And then there are some people who just can't look past the way I or other people, maybe look or present themselves. And so I think that I've been really grateful that along like my journey of being an actor, I've met a lot of incredible people who were able to look like beyond, who were able to, kind of close their eyes and listen to the way I speak or the way that I sing. And they can imagine me in different roles that maybe other people wouldn't. I think that's also kind of a strange challenge to the world of theater is that art is so subjective. You listen to one band and you might think that they're incredible and the person next to you has nothing but complaints. And so I think that just kind of getting used to that, it's a lot of work to learn how to not take it personally. A lot of being an actor is being rejected from a project. And you have to remind yourself that you're not being rejected as a person. You're being rejected as like, you were not the right fit for this particular story that we're trying to tell at this particular time with this particular group of people. So like for instance, if I show up for a project that I'm really, really right for, but let's say I'm in my 20s, but everybody else who showed up was in their 40s for the audition, then, I may have been the right fit when more younger people showed up. I'm not the right fit for this particular cast with this group of people. So it's just getting used to the idea that this project is not the door for me. But there's another door coming that will lead me to what I'm wanting to do. Lizzie was a project that was not on I didn't know that it was being done. I live in Lincoln, and so I wasn't aware that a theater in Omaha was doing Lizzie until a friend of mine happened to reach out and let me know that the auditions were coming up. And I was a little bit spooked by the musical. I mean, it's a spooky topic. And I just decided that I felt passionately enough about the people that were working on the project and how open-minded and creative they are and the material being so depthful that I wanted to give it an opportunity. And so, yeah, just like as an actor, it can be difficult to get over what you miss out on, but I think that it's better to focus on the things that are coming and the things that you do have and the relationships that you're building while you're making things with other people.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we get a lot of, we talk to a lot of different artists about different things. And I think the point here, I think for any of our listeners out there that are, wanting to pursue anything in theater or music is that rejection is part of the game, but, sometimes it's just finding the right fit. And when you do, sky can be the limit if you just keep working hard enough and putting yourself out there, don't you think?
Definitely. I think I've had a number of rejections over the years that were, they stung quite a bit, but something else always came along. Art is always being created, and there was always something else around the corner. So I think it's been really worthwhile to like grow from that and then figure out. I think I'm getting better about figuring out what doors I want to invest my energy into or not.
And now for my favorite part of the show, and it's your favorite too, everybody. It's that best time of the show where we talk about our sponsors. Let's run the Elegant Sasquatch commercial and the Sly Ink Tattoo commercial. Then we'll talk about some local sponsors, and we will get back to it with our guest, Michelle Colette Ingle. Ahoy, mateys! Christopher Columbus here. You know me. I discovered America, or at least that's what the history books have been saying for years. Anyways, I have a little confession to make. My compass quit halfway through the trip, and I got lost at sea on the way there.
Ahoy, Captain. What direction should we point the boat?
Shut up, you fool. I'm in the middle of a commercial here. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, yes. When we arrived on land there, the natives were all decked out in their cool Viking gear. They said these big, smelly, bearded guys came, hung out, then split with all their cool stuff.
Hi, it was a weird day.
That could have been our cool stuff. We could have claimed all this great treasure and all this pirate's plunder.
But, sir, how will we steer the boat if we don't have a compass?
Well, this next trip is going to be different. I'm heading to Sly Ink Tattoo to get a compass on my hand. After that, everything is coming up Christopher Columbus.
Ahoy, sir. That new ink looks great on you. After I swapped the poop deck and greased the hootenannies, I think we're going to be back to speed and... Oh, no.
What is it now, you buffoon?
It appears as if America's shores are just on the horizon.
What? How could this be? I've been pointing my arm in the same direction for days. Well, looks like this tattoo compass is broken too. Guess I'll have to head back to Sly Ink for that dolphin lower back tattoo I've been wanting to get. Well, looks like our native friends are waving us in, but oh, wait, they don't look very happy. Well, until next time, friends, if there is one. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get ready to rumble with the Ultimate Beard Care Showdown. Introducing our headliner, the one, the only, Squatch.
Oh yeah, Mean Jim. Squatch in the house, and I'm here to tell you about beard products that'll make your whiskers the talk of the town. If your beard's ready to take on the world, you need the power of our beard balms, butters, and oils, brother.
That's right, Squatch. Let's kick things off with the Beard Balm of Legends.
This beard balm is like a body slam for your beard. It tackles those wild hairs and smooths them out, making your beard look like $1,000,000. No sweat, brother.
What's the scoop with the beard butter?
Oh, brother, it's a game changer. This butter makes your beard softer than a cloud and as easy to manage as a well-oiled wrestling machine. Plus, it's got a scent that's as sweet as victory. Oh, yeah.
And let's not forget the beard oil.
The beard oil is the final knockout punch. It hydrates, shines, and smells like a championship belt made of cedar and pine. Your beard will be the 1, 2, 3 of any match.
Where can our fans score these unbeatable products?
You read my mind, brother. Head on over to elegantsasquatchco.etsy.com and grab your beard gear. And listen up. Use the code SUPERSHOW and get a jaw-dropping 20% off. That's right, 20% off. Your beard's about to go from zero to hero, brother.
That's elegantsasquatchco.etsy.com and use your code SUPERSHOW for 20%. Don't wait, make your beard the ultimate champ today. All right, everybody, we're back after the commercials. Let's talk about another one of our great local sponsors. Let's talk about Gray's Keg, everybody. Gray's Keg, I'm so pumped to have them on board with us because they are a live music venue. That's right, everybody. They're a dive bar by day and a live music venue every single weekend. The owners get it. They love live music. They promote local music, and they are just the best around. So here's what's coming up this week at Gray's Keg. We've got the Breakfast Club band. They're going to be playing from 8:30 to 12:30 right here Friday night, the 18th. So you got the Scratch the Vinyl podcast out today, and then you have that tonight. Then tomorrow they have Bargate. They've been doing this Bargate, kind of a tailgate type thing there, party. So tomorrow, 11 a.m., Nebraska versus Indiana. They're going to have grilling, chilling, watching the Husker game, Jello shots for every touchdown. They'll even have the free food and drink specials the whole time. So get down there. If you don't have anywhere to watch the game, get down to Gray's Keg. That's kind of the lineup they have going on this week. Also, we have Roots Music Shop, everybody. Roots Music Shop is the best in the business. They're just honestly down the way from Gray's Keg. Ryan is the best owner around. He has been helping me out for years, getting my my instrument needs, hooking me up with that rare vinyl. He's got it all there, fixing my guitars when they don't work because I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. So get there to Ryan and Roots and tell him that Scratch the Vinyl sent you. Now let's get back to our guest, Michelle Colette Ingle.
You're so seasoned at what your performance and everything you do. You've been doing it for so long. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that they need a little advice, like something you could go back to your first performance, your first audition, or, what would you tell people that are like starting out in this? Because I know it's really hard.
I think it's really important to give yourself a chance. I think it's really important. If this is something you really want to do, you probably get more no's than yeses in this particular industry. Rejection is just part of it. And I think that it really did take me a long time to learn that it's not personal and that there is a role coming for me that's right for me. I think that if this is something you want to do, just understand that that you're interviewing for a project to be a part of, and you're allowed to decide if it's something you want to be a part of or not. And perhaps it's the right role, perhaps it's the right show, perhaps there's a show you absolutely love that you want to be in, but the people who are in the room with you, you guys don't vibe. That makes a huge difference about whether or not you're going to have a good time or not. So I think if this is something you want to do, you have to be in the mentality of giving yourself time to succeed. You're going to have to make connections, and you're going to have to be able to work yourself up and your confidence up to a place where you can demonstrate to people, I know what I'm doing and I'm good at it. And here's what I would do if you gave me free reign on this particular role. And then you go into the room and you show them. And whether or not they say yes or no or not, you kind of have to get used to being proud of the work you did, just even in the interview, even in the audition. It's got to be something you love and that you put attention into and detail into. And you cannot allow yourself to fall into a place of like beating yourself up after it, like you didn't do a good job. You can do an absolutely phenomenal job in an audition and still not get the job because maybe there was somebody else that they had already precast. Maybe there was something else. Like there's lots of reasons why they might not be able to pick you today. But I have had lots of experiences where they weren't able to cast me for that project, but they called me a couple months later and said, hey, I remember you. Would you like to come in and audition for this instead? And then that ended up being a wonderful experience. So I think just giving yourself time to succeed.
I think that's some wonderful advice, especially for any of you, kind of newbie wannabes that are looking to expand. Here is firsthand knowledge right here from Michelle, just saying, hey, give yourself time to succeed. And I think that's great advice. why don't you lead into telling us kind of your next step? Obviously, I'm aware that you signed with an agent, and you're pursuing New York. Give us a little insight of what's going on there.
Yeah, so feel like I've been in Lincoln long enough. I've had a good time. It's a wonderful community. I fell in love with New York City when I was in college. I went for a musical theater intensive, and I loved the kind of hustle and bustle of the city. And so I decided a long time ago that that is where I wanted to end up. And I think it's finally time. I want to make sure that I get there. And so Randy is right. A huge step I had on my bucket list for this year was that I wanted to find an agent in the city. An agent is just somebody who represents me, who helps me get seen at auditions I maybe wouldn't be able to be seen at on my own if I just signed up. They're able to kind of fight for me to get seen in some scenarios, but then also they'll look over my acting like contracts and help me kind of fight for myself or fight for my boundaries, or just help me with my pay rate. I auditioned for an agency earlier this year and was fortunate enough to be offered a spot within their agency. And so I signed with them a couple months ago, Firestarter Entertainment, and they've been really lovely so far. I'm currently doing Lizzie, like I said, in Omaha, and that closes on Halloween on October 31st. And so once that show is done, I'm looking to make the big move to New York City. So that's kind of what I'm putting my energy into now. I'm either being Lizzie Borden at night or I'm packing during the day. So,
well, I've got to hear you sing before. I know Randy's got to see you perform a few times, but everybody listening out there, your voice is just amazing. I love your voice and I love hearing you sing. And I think one of the times we were at a karaoke thing with Randy, and I was just like, have her play, do it again, do another one. Can you do another one? And I think I was putting your name in. Like, where is this coming from? It was you're just beautiful voice.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And you're a beautiful person too. I just, there's something about you. I mean, I'd be making you do all of my musicals and everything. You're just I don't know. There's something about you. Your just energy is amazing and you're gorgeous and your voice and you're very talented. I want to go see the Lizzie one so bad. Plus I love punk. So that'd be pretty cool.
Yes. Come out and see us. And thank you. That's very kind.
Well, Michelle, our show is called Scratch the Vinyl, so I would like to maybe tap into your, musical tastes and
oh no.
and maybe what was your musical influence like growing up, and who are maybe some of your favorite artists, or maybe even some of the favorite songs you like to sing because of those artists?
Sure. I grew up doing choir in school, and so a lot of my musical influence and my theater influence came from that, and being in choir. I really loved Lauryn Hill growing up. She's an incredible riffer, and so I have vivid memories of listening to Lauryn Hill trying to copycat the riffs that she would sing. I still do that, but she's a huge one. And then my like first memory of music, I think, is pretty interesting. I have a pretty vivid memory of being in kindergarten and arguing with a friend about which tape was better. And I was holding on to the Barney soundtrack, and she was holding on to Oops, I Did It Again, the Britney Spears album. And I think that was like my first introduction to how passionate people can be about music, period. But I did grow up listening to a lot of Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. And so I've always been a fan of a female with a really powerful voice, an iconic brand. I fell in love with Whitney Houston in college and started listening to her more and trying to emulate some of the sounds that she made. As I've been studying for Lizzie, we made a playlist of punk rock girl groups and sounds that we wanted to try to emulate while we were doing the show. And a big one for me was Evanescence. I have a song in Act 2 called Questions, Questions, and it reminds me of Bring Me to Life by Evanescence. And so there are lots of other punk rock group sounds within the show, but I think that like that sound for Lizzie is pretty prominent. So yeah, I love a powerful female vocalist for sure.
Well, there you go, Cain. You got some new music to add to our Spotify playlist.
I do. I was writing it down. Have you ever dove into Karen Carpenter? I'm the world's biggest and strangest Carpenters fan. Have you ever dove into Karen Carpenter's work?
Oh, I haven't yet, but I will definitely take the recommendation and take a listen.
It's very theatrical, so I think you'd like it. But the Carpenters, it's love ballads. It's a brother and sister duo that were absolutely fantastic, and I think that you would dig it. That's my recommendation for you today.
Perfect. I'll take it. Thanks, Cain.
Of course.
Well, Michelle she's one of those who can really power up some real Etta James, if you know what I mean.
So she's got you've got more of a soulful voice. What are your go-tos at karaoke? Because I've noticed a lot of Broadwayers and stuff, they tend to want to, as I was a KJ back in the days, they wanted the entire Rocky Horror Picture
Sure.
And they wanted everything Disney had. They wanted to throw it at you. So those Disney nights were pretty wild.
Sure. I do love a Disney hit. If there's, I will admit when I go to karaoke, I do sometimes make it like a goal to see if I can get the bar to quiet down. Then I've done my job. If I've sung well enough, I can get the room to get a little bit quieter than when I started, because that means they're listening.
Or they left, because I've had the room get really quiet, and they're like,
well, I guess that's
bathroom break. Brooke's up there. In fact, Dan actually leaves.
I won't.
That's mine.
I'm going to rethink that goal then.
You literally silence everyone. They just sit and watch you, and it is kind of a breathtaking moment because they do that. I've seen them do it.
Yeah. I sing a lot of Whitney Houston. I Have Nothing is one of my go-tos. I sing that one pretty often. I do love a Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On moment, because most people will start singing along. I think that one's really fun. I sing Gravity by Sarah Bareilles quite often. I think it's just a really beautiful song, and a lot of people do know it, and so I sing that one quite a bit. And then, yes, I'm a Disney freak, and so I will pull out a Disney song here and there if I feel like it. I think my favorite at the moment is Almost There from The Princess and the Frog. It's got a New Orleans like beat to it, and it was written by Randy Newman, and so it just kind of like has that classic Disney sound, but I can also kind of like wail and riff, and it still matches. And so I'll do that one every once in a while as well.
The Princess and the Frog is the sleeper out there for that people don't talk about, but that's honestly one of because my wife and I oddly, when we're down or we're sick, we'll watch Disney movies. Like we'll go through, and I don't have any problem. My kids are disgusted by it, but I think The Princess and the Frog is one of those that people don't talk enough about. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I love that movie quite a bit.
Randy, I have an idea, and I think you've already done it, but do we have like a Broadway theater, all of the people that you know, including Michelle, like everybody come down, just do like just a sesh with that, and have them all maybe practice if they need to. But I want to kind of see a little Broadway show or something with everybody.
Well, I was fortunate enough there was about a 7-year run. All the theater kids from the university used to come down to my show on Thursday night. And it literally was they were basically showing off. I mean, it was true performance every Thursday night, but they're all so talented. And, Michelle can attest that, we get a lot of talented people that will, go through that program at the university here in Lincoln. And I mean, the Johnny Carson Theater just look who it's named after. That's but we get a lot of kids, and every once in a while, I still see a few new ones come to the show, and you can tell right away they're into theater and the songs they pick. Of course, with Hamilton, when it came out, it kind of brought a whole nother new group of performers. Again, that just a new element. Maybe a little separate from the Disney stuff, but I think even Michelle even taps into a couple of those every once in a while.
Correct. I love Hamilton. It was one of the first Broadway shows I actually saw, and I do know exactly what Randy's talking about, probably because I'm one of them, the theater kids that show up to karaoke. And yes, they're probably showing off a little bit, but also those kids are spending a large majority of their day like ripping themselves apart for like how they sang in their voice lesson today, or when they're in school and they're auditioning for shows and they're dealing with the rejection at the beginning of the journey, and trying to figure out how that works. Like I see a lot of those younger theater kids come into karaoke here in town, and they're just looking for a little bit of honestly, they're just looking for a little bit of hope at the end of the day. Because if they can come to karaoke and they can sing a song and they can get a good reaction from the bar, then that means a lot more to them than you would think that it does. And so it's just nice that they have a chance to go somewhere in town and do what they love for a group of people who are willing to listen and receive a little bit of that
applause, validation. I've always really enjoyed when they come to my shows, because it always brightens things up. And of course, with karaoke, you get to hear some new variety of stuff, and it keeps the shows interesting. And
they bring the drama for sure.
They bring the drama. Well, I can't tell you here on Scratch the Vinyl how time flies when we have a great interview. And Michelle, we wish you the best on your journey to New York, and we really appreciate you giving us a little insight. I think you're our first kind of actress, director, performer. We love to shine a spotlight on area talent, and we wish you the best of luck.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Well, unfortunately, everybody, like Randy said, it goes so fast, but we would love to have you on again sometime. Feel free to get a hold of us, especially when you're in New York. If you're bored, Scratch the Vinyl is waiting for you to tell us what you're doing. And we wish you the best of luck. And thank you so much for being on Scratch the Vinyl with us. Tune in next week, everybody, as we dive into yet another awesome guest like we did here today. And join us for another riveting edition of
Scratch the Vinyl.